Hey everyone, happy Thursday. It is time once again for another episode of Day in Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. So other than running a bunch of errands today, I decided to focus on this one and go ahead and start swapping out his front brakes for disc brakes. So oddly enough, this car, when it came in, the owner had put disc brakes on the back, but not on the front. I don't remember. It seemed like he had a reason for that, but anyway, nonetheless, we're putting disc brakes on the front of it now. So now it'll have four-wheel disc brakes, a much better solution for sure. So we're putting on the MP kit, which has, actually it's got a dual bolt pattern. It's got 5x130, which is the Porsche, of course. And then it's got another 5-lug pattern, which I think is Chevy or something. Not something I would really use, but anyway, yes, it does come with a Porsche lug pattern here, which is these bigger holes for the big 14 millimeter studs. So I think I will probably do a separate review on this kit. Got some things to say about it, both I suppose good and bad, mostly good, but anyway. Just briefly, a couple things. One is the rotors come unpainted, so unless you want them to rust all up or you just, you don't care, then it's a good idea to go ahead and paint them. So I did that on these, painted them inside and out with like a semi-gloss black. You got to clean them first. Usually these things come with some like packing material, or not packing material, but like grease of some sort on them to keep them from rusting, just, sitting on the shelf. So clean them off thoroughly, and then you can paint them. Same thing with the master cylinder here. So this is a master cylinder that I think is exclusively sold by Jason at Air-Cooled Vintage Works. I think it's massive, like 25 millimeters or something huge like that. So he sells that with the MP disc brake kit for a nice little setup. So yeah, anyway, painted these, painted that, and pulled off his stock drums and stock height spindles. You can see them there. I left them intact when I pulled them off because at the time what I didn't realize is that in this particular kit you actually reuse the axle nuts. So some kits come with new axle nuts. This kit I think is kind of like meant to be fairly bare bones as far as like they leave some stuff out that you would probably already have to save you a few bucks. So I will be pulling those apart and reusing the axle nuts and the thrust washers. And then the other thing the kit doesn't come with is the brake hoses. And so I am definitely not reusing those. They look pretty old. So, brake hoses are pretty cheap and, needless to say, pretty important. So I'll be replacing the brake hoses too. Other than that, the other sort of caveat is that the spindles are made for the later, I guess 68 and up, the larger tie rod ends, and this car being a 67 has smaller tie rod ends. So I went over to AJ at Low Bucket right across the street, and luckily he had a pair of outer tie rod ends with a larger shank on them. So yeah, this thing should go together the rest of the way, probably in the morning. We'll see what else we have going on. Tomorrow Jacob will be in, so I think we're going to, or I'm going to have him go ahead and change the oil on the 40 horse that we did the cam brake in on, and then we may actually go ahead and stab that into the beautiful 63 mouse gray bus. So but he's Jacob's getting good. He's able to work pretty independently on a lot of stuff. So I'll probably have him working on that. And then I may try and finish this up, and then him and I can come back together and install that in the car a little later in the day. Hopefully. That's my plan anyway. We'll see. The best laid plans, as they say. So that's it for this one for today. I did get a delivery from Jason at Air-Cooled Vintage Works, and what he brought are the wheels for the Speedster replica. So we were going to put the silver ones on. They're out of stock for like another month, literally. The polished ones are available. Checked with the owner. He said, yeah, let's just do the polished ones so we don't have to keep waiting. I think they look great. My slight preference would have been the silver ones, but in all honesty, the I don't know, sort of bling, for lack of a better word, of the polished ones with the nice shiny black body and the red interior. I think it's going to look awesome. So now I need to get my butt in gear and finalize my tire sizes and brands and so on for this car and get those on order. And then I think I'm going to have to buy some studs probably, and maybe lug nuts, or at least I think the car may already have studs on it. So I may just need lug nuts, because I think it has probably mag style, and these take a 60-degree taper. Anyway, may have to get lug nuts, definitely have to get tires, and then those will go on. And then these are is a pair of the coilover shocks, those kind of cheap ones you see. They're, I don't know, 100, 150 bucks a pair. Again, trying to be conscious of the owner of the Speedster's budget. We're going to lift the front end up like an inch or so with a pair of these shocks. Not ideal, but we're trying to make the thing not into too much of a money pit for him, and bang for the buck, raising the front of the car. You can't really go wrong with those. So probably be installing those in the not too distant future. The other thing is the owner of this car came by, and he was very happy with the progress that he's seen so far, the wiring. I was showing him how the lights and his turn signals work and stuff that I had wired into his city lights up front and stuff like that. So yeah, he's happy. He did bring, he brought one of the seats that he's hoping to use, and these are out of a BMW and look super nice. So what he ideally wants us to do is, again, to use these seats and delete the backrest, or excuse me, yeah, delete the headrest and make them into low backs. And then upholster them. We were talking about two-tone and using, if we can find it, like a kind of darker gray like this material here, and then a lighter gray that kind of goes with the carpet. So we'll see if we can find materials that are close enough to those in terms of their color. Then I think that would look really good. The challenge with these seats is the fact that they're electric. And so you can't really do anything on these seats adjustment-wise without using these things. And so I looked at the bottom of the seat, and there's a big plug on there. And I think I need to figure out the polarity of the plug, but I think if I just run 12 volts to that plug, then I think that these seats will fully work as far as, forward, backward, and then tilt and so on. So that would actually be kind of sick. On this custom car, having BMW seats that were electric that actually worked and everything, I think that would actually be kind of cool. And then again, if we upholster them in those colors I was just talking about, I'm all for it. But it's a matter of whether I can get these seats to work. And I don't even know if he knows if they work. I'm assuming they do. They were obviously taken out of a car at some point. Hopefully they weren't taken out because they don't work. But the thing is like adjusting them forward and aft, forward and backward, it's a lead screw on both. So there is literally nothing you can do to adjust these without having power hooked up to them, and then again the motors and stuff on them working. So I may in the morning do a little Googling and see if I can figure out the polarity of the connector that's up underneath this thing, and try and hook a 12 volt battery up to it and see what happens. So I'm actually excited. It's kind of a fun little project. If I can get that to work, I think that they will go in the car fairly easily, because basically, I took this back, the tracks on them are pretty much just flat. So I think these could just bolt on the floorboard. You will have to remove the stock seat rails from the floor, but I'm pretty sure these will just bolt to the floor. And, we may have to put spacers and so on in them. So I'm not really worried about bolting these to the floor, but, so here's this connector. So I think there's actually only 2 pins in there, which means it's probably just a positive and a negative. And then there's some other little connectors here and here. I'm guessing those are more for like, for the airbag sensor if somebody's sitting in the seat, maybe the seat heater, stuff like that. But
I'm guessing that these two here are the power for the seat itself. But it could be these two. I don't know. So I got to do some Googling. If anyone knows that's familiar with more recent BMWs, who knows what the pinout is and which pins I need to use on these things to make the power on these seats work, I would be forever indebted if you know that. Otherwise, I'll be Googling and maybe ask ChatGPT or something if they know, or whatever. But yeah, I think it's got to be pretty simple. And again, that would be badass if these work.
The other thing, though, is that with all this stuff on here, they're kind of wide. So I still am not 100% sure that they'll even fit in the car in the width that we have. I think they will, but there's a bunch of reasons that we may not be able to use these, but we're going to try. So if these don't work, our next choice is probably Scat Pro Car seats, which look good, and they make in a low back. And then probably our third choice, stylistically speaking, is a pair of, like say 62 Beetle, which is what this is, seats. And we can do them up in two-tone in the colors I was talking about. And that would still look good, but this car is so custom that I think it kind of needs more of a like modern contoured seat. So we'll see where that all goes. Hopefully tomorrow, maybe when I do this video again, maybe I'll be able to show you guys the seat working. I don't know, we'll see. Don't hold your breath, but I'm gonna give it a try. So guys, that is it for today. Appreciate you all watching, and we'll see you again tomorrow.